Some locations are simply synonymous with racing. Places such as Le Mans, Monza, Daytona, and of course, Indianapolis. But while it was strictly associated with American oval racing for nearly a century, the last 2 decades have seen road course racing making Indy its home as well. The Roval circuit at IMS has seen many changes and many types of racing in its comparatively short history. But today, that history goes back a little further with vintage sports cars taking to the track. We'll see who adapts to the legendary speedway the best as we get ready to watch round 3 of the iRacing Kamel GT series. And you'll see it all live here on the global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Johan Vandenbelt. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Johan, most race fans will know about Indy's oval, but for those who aren't familiar with the road course, why don't you introduce the viewers?
Yeah, being built over 100 years ago in 1909, Indianapolis Motor Speedway has had the time to write its name in the annals of motorsport history. The racing enthusiasts probably know that the track is nicknamed the Brickyard, and that name originated from just after the opening of the track, when the track surface consisted out of crushed stone and tar. When this proved to be problematic, the owners decided to pave it with more than 3 million bricks, giving the track its iconic name. Now, around those millions of bricks, there is space for 400,000 people, making Indianapolis the highest capacity sports venue in the world. And just in comparison for the people, 400,000 people, that's enough space to fit each person from Iceland, Greenland, and still have some space left. Now tonight, we cut out a big part of the famous oval, however, and visit the twists and turns of the road course. Because of the corners in the infield section, this 13-corner road version is actually longer than its big oval brother, measuring roughly 2.6 miles or 4.2 kilometers. Another way the track distances itself compared to other ovals like Daytona or Charlotte is that the Indianapolis road course is clockwise, where others follow the NASCAR and IndyCar direction. Now today, we race at the Brickyard, the American tempo of speed, for 40 minutes. Drivers will easily reach 280 kilometers per hour on the straight. And for the viewers that want to know what is necessary to achieve these speeds, we'll hop on board our Nissan for a lap around the Indianapolis road course.
All right, we've got John Keefe in the GSRC Nissan, so let's do a lap around Indianapolis. Coming down to turn 1, this is going to be your best opportunity for a pass 9 times out of 10. But watch out when you turn in for the corner, because with just the curb there and more pavement to the inside, it'll be very tempting to cut in too far. The track quickly switches back into 2, and then you'll be feathering it around 3 into the braking for 4. This is one of the toughest corners on entry out of this whole track, and just to keep things interesting, it has a decreasing radius. As you swing through 5, you'll want to hold the car to the right instead of letting it track out. That's because you've got the long, patience-trying turn 6 to deal with, which honestly has a similar situation with its exit because you'll need to open up turn 7 as wide as you can. Ease your way onto the throttle so that the turbo lag doesn't send you looping, but also watch out that you don't drift out too far to the left. There's a slowdown penalty waiting for you if you push the boundaries of the exit too much. Drift it back to the right side and then spot your brake marker for 8. This is going to be a series of tightening S's, so other than a couple little blips on the throttle, you're mostly slowing the car as you go. Really, you want to set yourself up for 11 because this is the most critical corner on the track. Accelerating out of here determines your speed all the way down to the first corner. There's no lifting from here to the line, so it's all about the best launch possible and then minimizing your steering input. Expect the slipstream to come into play some, so keep an eye on your mirrors just in case your opponent got a good run. But hopefully, you kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Indianapolis. A little bit more of a cloudy day than what we've got here, but thankfully nice and bright for the drivers. As we wait for the qualifying to complete, let's hop over to the championship standings, starting with the GTP cars. The prototypes are led by Arno Iamaki, but not by much. 1 point between Iamaki and Richie, and Olenek is in there as well. So expect this to continue today as drivers are really on a tight fight up in the prototypes. Clayton McLeod, Jamie Hall round out our top 5. The lights standings are a little bit farther apart, but we're only around 3, so really not too much farther apart. 8 points separate the top 3, Keith, Krejcik, and Luis Emerton. I believe all 3 of them are here today. Then it's a bit of a jump back to Peterson and Kopak rounding out our top 5. What about the GTO class? What are we looking at there, Johan?
In first there, it's Marco Kika. Marco, who profited last week around from that Audi bug that still hit the car then. Was there in the Laguna Seca race and gained a lot of positions on his rivals. He is currently ahead of John Malia, who's 7 points trailing. Ben Laughter is currently 9 points trailing in front of Ovi Trangrate and Phil Lake. Now, the Audis also have a little other championship, and that's called the GTU one. Only 4 people there at the moment. Leading there, Brian Shanahan, 36 points so far. He's 10 points in front of Riley Thompson, who's leading Hideki Koivisto and Ray Miller in P4.
For anybody who has watched this before, this is going to be old news, but for anybody who hasn't watched this series, we are in round 3 out of 12, of course, with it being official iRacing. Now, it is a 40-minute race today, so this is a sprint race for this series. They do have longer ones at 60 minutes. The setups are open, which means you cannot, or you should not expect pit stops today. They should be able to go to the end on fuel. And there's the scoring down below. You can see quite a few points up for the top, but not many as you go down. So consistency is going to be key in this series, as we see one of our drivers, that's Nicholas Mukanos, completing his second qualifying lap. Now, up at the top right now, Michel de Jong is the fastest. Rob Olenek giving him a run for his money, though.
Yeah, Rob is only 3/10 behind, so good pace from Rob so far. But yeah, Michel is certainly a class apart so far, Joe. Only person in the 1/16. Now he is almost finishing his last lap now. Don't know if that's one more timed lap or if he's just practicing. Let's see if he improves his lap time. No, doesn't get clocked, so maybe he had a little off track there. But still a 1:16.9. Well, Jamie Hall knocks Rob Olenek off the P2 spot.
We see Yuko Lascala coming across for his second lap. Now, looking at the standings, I take back what I said earlier. I don't think Iamaki or Richie are here today. So this is a great opportunity for Olenek to maybe potentially take over the lead in the championship.
Yeah, especially, but you're saying that Jamie Hall is currently P5 in the championship. He might also be able to profit from the top 2 not being here. Clayton McLeod, he is currently P9. He's P4 in the championship at P9 on the grid. He's a little bit further down compared to Jamie and Rob. He will be trying to fight his way forward. But like you said, Joe, 2 big names missing here at Indianapolis. That might be a boost for Jamie and Rob and their championship aspirations.
Christopher, we can see completing his lap. Also want to point big names in the GTOs that are back. Brian Strodbeck is here alongside Yoni Hagner, longtime rivals in this series, and that slower class should put on a good show. I see Vili Ruola as well down there. He usually is fast, but not so today, at least in the qualifying. Now, I did read up that in the Audi, a lot of the drivers considered the car a little bit finicky around this course, which isn't too surprising since this Audi car tends to not like heavy braking, be a little bit unsteady. You got 2 very big heavy braking zones on this course.
Yeah, I found it as well. I thought this track was more difficult to drive than other ones. Will surely be interesting to see how the drivers will cope with that today. But I have to say, Joe, looking at the standings so far, you can see them on top of your screen. The difference between the top 3 and the Audis. Look at that. The top 3 is within 1/10 of each other. Now, on a track like this, you're used to that maybe on ovals, but on a roval, that's quite a close gap.
Yeah, should make it interesting. That's between Malia, Strodbeck, and Lascala. Those 3, Lascala especially, has come to the fore, being a bit of a newcomer to this series, but has certainly shown some speed. Andy Trupiano coming across and finishing his lap. I believe that should be everybody. De Jong just putting in laps for practice at this point. So let's go through our qualifying order. Michel de Jong on the pole in the Nissans, as I think that's a little bit different from normal. I believe in the past we've seen him in the Audi class. Jamie Hall will complete that front row with his teammate Rob Olenek starting in 3rd. Fabian Gerber coming over from the Lotus 79s to run the Nissan yet again. He'll run 4th with Luis Emerton, one of our GTP Lights competitors, starting 5th. Great qualifying from Luis. John Keefe will start in 6th. It'll be followed by Fabian Jungbluth. Then in 8th, it'll be Nicholas Mukanos. Clayton McLeod will start in 9th, and rounding out our top 10 is Michael Kopak. Starting row 6, Martin Krejcik will be starting in 11th, with Christopher behind him in 12th, and Tommy Toe will round out our Nissans in 13th. Johan?
Yeah, we talked about Marco Kika before, the championship leader in the Audis, who's not here today. So P2 in the championship, John Malia, is really profiting from that. He grabbed pole position on the outside of row 7, just in front of Brian Strobbeck and Yuko Lescala. Joni Hagner starts P4, P17 on the grid, in front of Michael Houghton. Finn Ruola starts 18th next to Philip Lake. Franco Scurry and Ben Lafter start behind them, in front of Riley Thompson and Brian Shanahan. The last 4 on the grid in the Audis are Adam Hyland, Wright Miller, Hideki Kofisto, and Andy Trupiano.
Andy was bemoaning the fact that he unfortunately invalidated his lap with an off on his last qualifying lap, and I believe he did on both. So it looks like Andy going to be starting tail end Charlie with no starting time, as we look at Rob Olenek waiting for the roof pace car to take off. Going to do a full pace lap around here.
Yeah, just a quick mention. You say that about Andy. He indeed mentioned that he had some off tracks and that invalidated his lap. But if Andy is to be believed, Joe, he is quite quick. He says that he could have run a 25.5. If that's actually the pace that he can run, that's probably somewhere near P4, P5. So if Andy is true to his word, and if I'm understanding what he's saying correctly, that means that we have an Audi coming from the back all the way to the front.
Well, that'll give us some excitement for sure, as well as the excitement between the classes dealing with one another. Something always to watch out for in the Kamel GT series as the roof pace car now starts to peel away off the line of bricks. These Nissans running 116s at the top, with the Audis running 125. So at 9 seconds faster, you can expect them to be lapping a few times, even in this short 40-minute race. Now, thankfully, even though there's some very twisty bits, there are also some long ones where they can be able to try and get by those slower GT cars. Now, you were talking about slowdown penalties before the race, and those being a bit of an annoyance on this track. Where are some trouble spots for those?
The one that I struggled the most with was on the exit, the infield back straight. There's basically the place, if you have driven this track in iRacing, where the DRS board is, where you can open the DRS in the Formula 1 cars. If you go a little bit wide there, it's really like a knife edge, where one moment you're fine and you're actually quick and you do not even get a 1x off-track penalty, and the other moment you're getting an off-track. Now, off-tracks, if they're this easy to get, might actually factor in, Joe, because that first lap, if you get an off track there, you have to slow down so much that you lose tons of time, tons of positions. Drivers will probably be a little bit conservative to make sure that they don't get one of those off tracks there. But that's probably the place on the track where I struggled the most with it, yeah.
Now, the good news for those drivers is that the off tracks don't really have to make them worried about a incident cap, because there is none in the Kamel GT series. So they can rack them up as they please. However, safety rating is very much still in effect, so that can hurt after the race. Also, apologies. Those who watched the Lotus 49 a little bit earlier are aware that I'm a little bit under the weather, dealing with a bit of a stuffed up nose. So just dealing with it for today, and we'll get through the broadcast here on a Saturday before a lovely Easter on the Global Sim Racing channel, as we watch those GTP cars come back onto the oval. Now, those familiar with the modern iRace, or the modern Roval course here at Indianapolis, would expect them to peel off to the right here. Not so. They're going to continue to follow what is normally turn 1 on the oval. Here, the final turn on to the front stretch. So they get incredibly fast here down into turn 1. Roof pace car now peels off. And as we wait for De Jong to accelerate, he takes the green flag, crosses the yard of bricks, and already teammates behind him, Hall and Olenek, looking to go side by side into turn 1. 3 wide behind them. They fan out. This is a trouble spot in most races down into this corner, where it siphons into a thin little chicane, but it looks like they get through fine. Let's go to the GTO class.
Yeah, Joni Hagner had an amazing start. 3 wide they went over the start-finish straight, and he goes from P3 to P1. Beautiful start, battling against John Malia, who loses 1 place, and Michael Houghton is there. Oh, P3, but we see a Nissan spinning there. That's Mike Kopeck.
Oh, and Rob Olenek gets turned around in front of the field. He gets hit by a couple cars, gets it going again. Minimal damage for what could have been a huge pileup here at the start.
Ah, that's just a shame for Rob Olenek. He had such a great qualifying. Well, we go to a replay if I understand that. We see it here.
It looks like he was tipped by Lewis Emerton, but Luis, I think, just was caught out because it started with a bit of a slide from Olenek, so I don't think you could really blame Emerton for that one.
Here we see Kopeck, yeah. Just turning around, yeah. Getting turned around there.
I hadn't caught that one.
Obvious.
Yeah, and I didn't realize how hard he got hit. Hall is still out there, so Olenek's teammate able to carry the banner for that Zigzag Racing team, and he is hot on the heels of a Sheldon.
Brian Strobbeck, who had started in P2, have hit the wall on the outside going onto the oval hard.
We're dealing with a pass for the lead. Sorry, we got to stay with this. A lot of action going on at the same time here in the Kamel Series. We're used to this, but Jamie Hall made an attempt, could not pull it off. Sorry, what were we missing over at GTO?
Apologies for that. I was looking at the Audis. Brian Strobbeck came onto the oval and just went a little bit wide, hit the wall hard, has big damage on his left side, but still going on. Lost several positions, started P2, is currently P7.
Here's Strodbeck's incident. Incident out of turn 11 and 12. Now, are these Audis able to stay flat out all the way to the line, or they have to lift on the oval? Oh boy, he got it hard.
Yeah, that's a really have to. I think they can stay full throttle here. Oh, hard hit there from Brian.
Absolutely. As we come back, he is struggling a bit, looking to be overtaken by, I believe that's Riley Thompson. No, Ben Lafter, who gets around the outside. Oh yeah, I think Strodbeck's going to have to come in for some repairs. He is way off pace. Meanwhile, battle for the lead erupts once again. Jamie Hall, this time having to go the long way around as De Jong defends to the inside. Not quite brave enough. And it looks like the Benelux driver is going to stay in front.
Yeah, it seems like Jamie Hall had to give a little bit there. It seems like he didn't trust Michael De Jong hitting that curbstone that hard. Held a little bit back to make sure that he didn't hit the Benelux driver.
And I think I heard that Strodbeck is in the pits. Yes, indeed he is. So he is going to try and come and repair that car. That sets him way back down the order. But his race is not over. Still has over half an hour to go to try and regain ground. What about the lead in the GTOs? It was close in qualifying. Not too far apart here in the race, but nobody on the attack at the moment, other than it looks like La Scala was close to Houghton in third.
Yeah, it's a little bit under a blanket as they're going through the infield section at the moment. No big changes so far going over the oval section. John Malia had a little look on the inside of Johnny Hackner last time around, but didn't manage to complete a pass. He's considerably closer now, though, as they going through the infield section. Really on his exhaust there.
We're actually getting information that the Audis aren't quite flat out through that final quarter. One of the faster drivers feeded us a little bit, and that very driver actually might be under attack because John Malia is right within the slipstream of Joni Hagner. As we look back on that blockbuster machine, follows in his tire tracks down to the inside as Hagner tries to go defensive. Round to the outside, Malia looking to outbrake him, but it looks like the Finn is just that little bit better on the binders. Coming now into the infield section they go through the tricky turn 4. This is where there's very few places to pass. La Scala behind them, very much still hounding Houghton.
Yeah, they're all getting bunched up a little bit, and that's giving La Scala, but also Houghton and Lake. Now Lake falling behind a little bit, but Houghton and La Scala especially a chance to battle with each other. La Scala really behind Houghton now. Getting a good run on that back straight, but not close enough to try and overtake there.
Ooh, what is going on behind them, though? I think that was Tommy Toe. I believe, he actually, something sent him backwards, so he's not trying to lap traffic here. He's just trying to get through for overall position, which means these drivers are not getting blue flags for Tommy. Well, I understand that Nick Lucanos was either passed or made a pass. Looks like he made a pass on Emerton. See if we can check this out on the replay. Down into the ever-popular turn 1. Looking to the inside. Is this a textbook, or does Emerton fight back on him down into the heavy braking? Emerton tries to come back at him. Now, what happened? Where did he get by then? Must have been a mistake a little bit later in the lap. Usually it's through turn 1. So, unfortunately, did not find the pass that happened, but somehow he got past Luis Emerton for 5th position.
Yeah, especially, and he immediately created a gap a little bit. Lewis Hamilton is falling back a little bit. Is currently under pressure by Cloud. We see battle for the lead. Jamie Hall on the outside once again with Michael de Jonge going to turn 1. Now this time he is more forward than Michel de Jonge though. Stays there, gets the apex on turn 2. Hit each other though. I think they hit each other, but nobody getting turned around. Jamie Hall clearing the pass there for P1.
He's been working on that for a number of laps. Finally, the zigzag car gets it done over the Benelux driver. Now we look back through the 007 cam at Michel de Jonge.
Yeah, John Keefe has looked very good so far this whole race, Joe. He's been right on the tail of Michel de Jonge, being able to put him under pressure every lap so far. And now on lap 5 of the race, he's finally able to put that pass around. It will be interesting to see if he actually managed to create a gap now forward to gap the Benelux driver a little bit more.
Yeah, seems like it's tough to get away with the way that the draft was bringing him in. Not something you typically see in these Nissans, as they don't usually punch a big hole in the air. It'll be telling this time around if Jamie Hall starts to stretch away. Almost makes me wonder if Michel maybe has higher downforce set up on that car.
That could very well be it. Now maybe being in the draft of Jamie Hall might benefit him a little bit. Going over the start-finish straight, that's a gap of how many seconds? Half a second, something like that. I don't think, if that's actually the case, Joe, I don't think Michel has made the best choice then. Because it seems like Jamie is currently running away a little bit with it.
And that is going to be a boon for Jamie Hall. We've seen, even in more modern prototypes, John Oehler from the Autobahn series notoriously sets his car up with low downforce because he figures if he can handle it in the twisty bits, he can run away on the straights. And it makes it a lot easier to make passes, as Jamie Hall demonstrated. Jumping back down to the Audis to see how the battle is going there. Well, they're splitting up just a little bit. Hogner, Malia, and Houghton have separated, although Malia still relatively close on the tail of Hogner. Oh, and something wrong with de Jonge. Off course in the S's. How did he get out there?
It's the end where if we go in a replay there, under braking at the end of the back straight, just lost it.
Wow, overcorrected the car, you can see, just whipped around on him. Jägermeister machine going for a ride.
We're going on board here, you can see that he's around 1.5 meter from the apex there, probably taking a little bit too much speed into that corner, maybe braking a little bit too late, and then has to jump on the brake pedal, spins it around there. It sends him back quite a bit, currently in P8 there, Michel de Jonge.
Oof, got to be disappointing for our pole sitter. From the onboard, it definitely looked like it was oversteering almost as soon as he turned in. Not sure what is going on with that Nissan, but it is not handling well. Well, this gives a 3.2 second lead from Jamie Hall to our lap guide driver, John Keefe. John Keefe actually doing very well today. He started 6th. He is now up into 2nd. This is a phenomenal race for John.
He's really staying out of trouble on making sure that he profits from everyone else that makes a mistake. While they're coming up to the first lap traffic, Jamie Hall in front just past Adam Hyland, who was the first lap driver. And John Keefe coming up to them now. But like you say, Joe, John Keefe is just staying out of trouble, making sure that his car is nice and wide so Fabian doesn't get past for P2. And it's working out so far.
So we ride on board with our leader, Jamie Hall, trying to deal with this first set of traffic. Going to be easy through here. The downforce of the Nissan able to work around the outside of the next one, Shanahan. Now these Audis do get a fair bit of speed, so you're going to see them even out as they get to the braking. And then into the braking, Jamie Hall, much stronger. Not going to try and stick it in on Hideki Koivisto. Splits these pair of Audis. Oh, and Mukanos gets another one while we weren't looking. Or did he actually? Fabian Gerber?
Oh, he's closing into Fabian Gerber. He got the fastest lap last time around, and he's closing the gap to John Keefe and Fabian at the moment. Almost under a blanket. But oh, Fabian Gerber almost hitting the back there of Adam Hyland coming onto the oval. The speed difference between these Nissan Aubis was great. That cost him a lot of time, and Nicolas Mukanos is immediately into his toe, trying a maneuver on the outside. Now I don't think he has the momentum to send it side by side here. Well, he is way stronger on the braking, puts it side by side for a moment. And Fabian stays in front so far, Joe.
And that's also second place John Keefe. This is a three-way fight for position, weaving their way through the traffic, moving chicanes abound. Keefe gets a lucky break and separates himself as they return to the oval. Boy, tense moments though. Fabian Gerber starting to reel him in quickly. Did Keefe get some damage? He looks incredibly slow on the straights, and he knows it. He goes way to the inside, comes back to the racing line, maybe figures this is a done deal. There's nothing he can do to try and fend off Fabian Gerber, who takes the inside, outbrakes him into the first corner. Move Gerber going from fourth on the grid, now up to second.
Good move from Gerber, but Jamie Hall is probably laughing right now with this battle because he has gapped P2 by 5 seconds so far.
Certainly helping our leader who's having to deal with traffic on his own. These guys not done yet as we continue to follow this battle for second. Now it's Gerber who has the roles switched. Before it was Keefe who came up to the group first. Riley Thompson stays off to the left and lets him through. Keefe dives to the inside. He's able to hold off the car of Mukanos for now. Clayton McLeod coming up behind them. Wow, 4 cars fighting. Oh, almost contact there between Gerber and Scurry.
Rush hour here, Clayton McLeod. Yeah, Clayton McLeod went wide there. That causes Lewis Emerton and Michel de Jonge to go past him. Luis and Michel, who caught up to the leading drivers before them because of that huge traffic back there.
Oh, and apparently Malia got past while we weren't looking. I'm not sure if, yeah, we're going to abandon this battle here that we see between the 3 Nissans. As expected, on the front stretch, he's boxy little 80s machinery. Punch a huge hole in the air, and with him being much closer, Malia just scoops around the outside and gets it done. Ooh, Hagner comes back at him, though. That number 1 car holds him off. I thought for sure he would get it done there. You can see they have to worry about the cars behind as well closing in.
A P5 in the Nissans. Lewis Emerton hits Adam Hyland softly in the infield section, goes off the track, loses several positions to Jungbloef, de Jonge and McLeod. Lewis Emerton, who fell back a little bit a few laps ago, was slowly clawing its way back a few positions up because... Oh, John Keefe also went off.
Oh. After doing such a good job. This was also in 8. Did he have the same issue? He was off the apex in very similar fashion. Wow, that looks like a carbon copy of what we saw de Jong doing.
Exactly. Just under-braking there, spins it around. Shame for John Keefe. Currently in P8, falls back a lot there after driving P2 for a while.
Oh, and trying to go back to the inside. They come together, our 2 leaders in the GTOs. Malia gets turned around, comes back on the course. Hagner as well lose positions as La Scala inherits the lead.
Wow. From P4 to P1 in 1 corner.
Absolutely. He was dealing with a battle of his own. We're going to watch it after this. This is onboard Hagner. This is a lot of luck from La Scala. Here we see trying to come back at Malia. Tips the number 3 around. Has to hold up so he doesn't hit him again. And there you see La Scala scoot by. Now, this is La Scala's view. You can see chooses to go around the outside after the defensive move from, that was Houghton. Then Houghton gets boxed up by the incident here. The Finn is just like, all right, I'll take that. Let's move up a couple spots.
Fabian Jungbloef gets turned around by Clayton McLeod in the infield section. Both drivers spin a little bit, lose positions to Michel de Jonge.
It is back to that traditional form here in the Kamel GT series. Too much action to cover at once. Meanwhile, prototype Fabian Gerber in second place has Nicholas Mukanos looking to see if he can get back into P2. Mukanos came from 8th on the grid, doing a great job up in the podium at the moment.
Yeah, and he really had a run on Fabian last time around. If he can keep that up and keep the pressure on Fabian, he will probably be in P2 not for long.
And all this is happening behind our leader, Jamie Hall, who is now up to 8.7 seconds. And Jody Hagner with another issue. Where did he go off? Oh, looks like, actually, I don't think he went off at all. He just slowed up. Oh, he must have had a cut course in turn 1.
He cut a little bit off the curb zone there. Yeah, I don't see him spinning or hitting something. So it must have been a cut course penalty, like you say. He's back on speed now.
Jon Bluth with another issue as we watch the DH driver get back on track. Boy, lots of stuff happening. So let's give you the top 3 of each of our classes, since that is shuffled around quite a bit. In the prototypes, Jamie Hall leads. Gerber is still fending off Mukanos, and we actually might have to stay on this because Mukanos with a great run up to the outside of Gerber. Are we going to see a change in position? Gerber finds his top speed, must have a little bit lower downforce on that car, and that bears it out as the braking. Mukanos comes back at him, but just can't take the spot away, so they're going to stay in order. Let's go down to the podium of the GTOs.
Yeah, Jorko Lescala is just in front of Michael Houghton, putting him under heavy pressure there in turn 1, but stays in front of Houghton so far. Philip Lake profited from that cut course penalty for Joni Hagner. It's currently in P3.
Oh, not a bad job from Philip Blake. Really haven't showed him at all on this broadcast, although I think, yeah, that's a 4th position behind him. Vili Ruola, of course, giving him a little bit of a hassle. They've got Rob Olenek, who's coming back through the field, and those Nissans cycling around the outside of 6. And that's going to be an easy job to finish it through 7. Ooh, went way wide out through that DRS sign. Don't think he got a slowdown, though. Looks like he's safer now. Whoa, and John Keefe, his struggles continue as he slides back onto the track precariously in front of Vili Ruola, but no contact made. Oh, what was looking like a good podium finish for that Marlboro machine continues to get worse.
Again, P2 in the Nissans. Fabian Gerber all the way on the defense, all the way on the inside. Nicolas going around the outside once again, but not being able to make that move in the braking zone. Fabian Gerber a little bit loose in the first 2 corners, though. That catches Nicolas Mukenes right up to his tail. But still not enough momentum, not enough speed there to make the pass in the infield section, Joe.
A bit of deja vu there for Nicholas Mukanos, poking and prodding, seeing if he can find some way by P2 of Fabian Gerber. Much tighter at the apex at the start of 6.
It's probably hammer time for Nicolas, because his last lap time around a 19.5. That's around half a second slower than P4 Michel de Jonge. It's currently around 3 seconds between the two drivers, P3 and P4. So if Michel and Nicolas keep up this speed, only 6 laps from now, Michel de Jonge will be right on this podium battle.
Boy, great recovery from de Jong. Haven't hardly been able to follow it. I know he's had his fair bit of action. I wish we could have shown more of it. He had moments coming back through the field, aggressively going by drivers, and this P2 is on it again. This time he's got a nose in, takes it all the way down to the rumble strips, and I think that hurt his momentum as Nicholas Mukanos falls back a little bit, gets into the slipstream of Gerber, closes in Gerber all the way to the pit wall, down into the braking for 1. Exactly like we've seen the last 2 times. Mukanos gains ground in the braking, and then once they hit that apex, he has to give it up.
Yeah, just immense top speed from Fabian there. Like you said, probably running a little bit lower downforce than his rival out there, because he's really not able to pass him in the toe. And this is great for Michel de Jonge. Last lap around he did an 18.5, while the people in front of him did a 19.2 and a 19.2. So that's 7 tenths more that Michel de Jonge closest to these P2 and P3 drivers.
Interesting. That's the second time we saw Mukanos take a bit of a different line through turn 6 than Gerber was. He just tucks it right down to the curbing, whereas Gerber almost squares it off and comes in wide and chops off the end of it. Meanwhile, over in the GTOs, battle for third, a big battle for third. Vili Ruola has a train of cars all struggling to get by.
Yeah, Philip Ruola got past Philip Lake last time around in turn 1, and that caused a whole bunch of drivers back then, Miala and Hagner, to bunch up to them. Philip Lake under huge pressure now. He was P3 going into this lap, but if these people behind him manage to keep the pressure on like this, he's P6 very quickly.
Yeah, and this is our front row that's at the tail of this train. Remember, they had issues when Malia and Hagner came together. So they're on a recovery drive with these two, really eager to get by at this point as they return to the oval. The top two split themselves apart from the next two, though, and that's going to keep them a little bit safe. And to add to the complications, here comes Krejcik, tries to squeeze around the outside, interrupting the momentum of Malia. I don't think we're going to see anybody with an attempt in one.
It must be difficult for those Audi drivers, Joe, to always have your own battle, but that battle being all the time being interrupted by those Nissan drivers.
I think anybody who's driven in this series in the Audi class kind of knows that that's their lot in life. Wow, decisive move from John Malia on the car of Philip Lake, and his cohort, Joni Hagner, is going to follow him through. Or actually, Lake may have gotten a slowdown. He is way back.
That's what I'm thinking as well. He cut the curb zone in turn 1 a little bit, and I think he just had to slow down his car to get rid of the black flag penalty. Currently P6, but he's still not that quick going onto the back straight now. He probably will clear his penalty here. That's heartbreak from Philip Lake. He was doing so good, driving a podium position. Now he's back in P6.
Boy, this battle for third in the GTOs is a good one. As they work their way through the little Mickey Mouse S's through 11. Back onto the oval. Ooh, Ruola way off the apex. That's going to hurt him there. And we'll try to keep half an eye on our lead because I know they are close as well. But this pass is about to happen down to the inside into the final corner, side by side through here. We heard it was marginal. Who's going to carry the speed? It's going to be the Finn, who does a little bit better.
Joni Hagner is just going to pass both of them here. The inside of turn 1.
Wow.
Thanks to Vili Ruola. Wow, power move there from Joni Hagner.
Great job from that number 1 machine. That gets him back up to the podium after he was leading earlier on in this race. This is up to our lead, Houghton and La Scala. Very close together. Houghton was not able to make an attempt into one last time, but he is holding on tight.
Yeah, he's been clawing his way back to his rival Yoko little bit by little bit. Last time around 1/10 quicker, so Michael surely has speed. Now he also has the toe to try and move next time around in turn 1.
Earlier this season, we saw La Scala put a stomping on the field. I believe that was at Laguna Seca that we saw him lead most of the way and took the win. Not going to get that opportunity this time. He is going to have to fight for it. As once again, Michael holding on close. Now they come back onto the oval. Let's see if he can get a run through the final corner. This is going to be critical. Stays with him. Not quite close enough, I think. Let's see. Oh, he's reeling him in now. He's got a great run, ducks to the inside. That Blockbuster machine has got a great head of steam. But can he break off the racing line and hold onto it side by side through turn 1? Momentum goes to La Scala. The Finn holds him off.
Great momentum on the outside of turn 1 there from La Scala, making sure that he stays in front of them. Also behind him, Vili Ruola is under heavy pressure by the other Blockbuster car. John Malia really making moves for P4 there.
Malia does not want to let Joni Hagner get away from him at this point.
A little while ago we talked about Michel de Jonge trying to fight his way back to Nicolas Mucanos and Fabian Gerber for P2 in the Nissan category. The gap from P4 to P3 is less than 1 second now. And as the Nissans are catching a little bit of Audi traffic, he surely has caught up.
Oh, and that was Reed Miller, who I think was trying to get out of the way, but unfortunately balked the Nissan of Gerber. Miscommunication frequent occurrence. Can't get too frustrated because it's just going to happen time and again, and you just have to deal with it. So this allows De Jong now to be solidly on the tail of Mukanos.
And now they have lapped traffic for a little while. Riley Thompson is in front of them, I think something like 10 seconds, now maybe a little bit less. So probably next lap around they'll have a little bit of traffic. But for the next run towards turn 1, they're in clean air.
So what is De Jong going to do here? We saw him struggle a little bit with Philip Lake, with him catching him. Is that high downforce going to hurt him? Trying to get past P2 and P3. Swinging it through the reverse turn 1.
Looks like Mukanos is very close to Gerber, more than De Jong is to Mukanos. Hang it in the toe, showing a little bit on the inside, but not close enough to try and move water, catching up to the Audi of Thompson now.
Oh, they're catching him in the absolute worst place here. Where is Thompson going to put the car? That's the question. Holds to the inside. Lets 1 go through. Lets 2 go through. Let's 3 maybe. Beautiful job by Thompson. All 3 get by smooth. Ooh, bit of a dive from De Jong. Outbreaks himself into 6. That's going to cost him a little time.
Yeah, but he's still quite close to Mukanos' rear there. Not close enough to try and move here on the end of the back straight.
He's going to have to wait for a better opportunity a little bit later. And again, we haven't seen any change up front. In fact, the gap has increased. It's now 10 seconds between Hall and Gerber. We talked about who was going to take advantage with fast names like Richie and Lino Luoto not being here, Iamaki not being here. Well, the answer is Jamie Hall so far. He's got to last for 12 more minutes.
He's doing a superb job, like you can see on the screen now. 10 seconds he created the gap to Fabian Gerber. If he just stays calm, makes sure that he can drive his own lap times, doesn't make any mistakes, and sure as hell doesn't tangle with the lap traffic, I think Jamie Hall will get the victory today. A little bit closer though, a fight for the lead is the one in the Audi fields. Michael Houghton still right on the tail of Yuko Lescala. Last time around he tried a move, as we could I think catch the tail end of that on the screen, where Michael Houghton tried to make a move down the inside of Yuko. He only had to brake a little bit earlier than his Finnish rival, so he didn't manage to take the pass. But Joe, he's still putting on so much pressure to Yuko. I think this would be a tough end for Yuko to finish P1 in the end.
Well, like I said before, he has been made to work for it, sweating off any weight that he may have wanted to lose, that's for sure, as Houghton continues to hound him quarter after quarter. Let's see as they come down to turn 1 yet again, getting their speed up, climbing up the accelerometer as 166, 170 miles an hour. Here he comes to the inside. Michael Houghton brakes a little bit early, can't quite get his nose in, and Yuko Lescala fends him off for one more lap.
P3 in the Nissans. Mukanos is trying us on the outside of the start-finish train. Fabian Gerber, they were passing some traffic and that caught them up together. Mukanos being able to brake a little bit later, but not late enough to try and make a move on Gerber. Stays behind in P3 for now.
It's one thing to make it through the cars that are much slower than you on qualifying pace. It gets a little bit harder the higher you go, as De Jong is finding out. Getting that face full of Mukanos' rear wing. Now they work their way through 6.
And they caught a little bit of Nissan traffic. Tommy Toe right in front of him. Tommy Toe, who had a little bit of trouble in lap 1. We haven't talked a lot about him. And Philip Lake, who was doing so well in the auto category. Still in P6 though in the category, but now a little bit in no man's land.
Ooh, bit of a dive by Gerber, and thankfully it looked like Lake saw him coming, gave him the inside. Don't blame Gerber. He's trying to do everything he can. Oh, didn't see the third car. Poor Michel de Jong. We're going to watch the replay. De Jong thought he was clear as the other two were given the inside. And I just think it was poor Philip Lake. Didn't realize there was a third car in the train. Goes for the apex. Bonk.
A little bit of damage now on the right rear of de Jong's car.
Yeah, the poor Jägermeister car caught like a deer in the headlights when traffic doesn't see you. So the number 17 has a little bit more damage as Tommy Toe gets out of the way.
And this has spread out the battle for P2 in the Nissan category quite big. Fabian Gerber almost 1 second now in front of Nicolas Moukanos. De Jonge not far behind Moukanos, however. But with the damage, I'm curious, Joe, if he's actually able to make a pass, because that will surely hurt him when he's trying to get as much top speed as possible.
I was thinking the exact same thing. Look at all this traffic they're dealing with now. Each of them having to weave in and out of the battle between Malia and Ruola. And that's Hagner up ahead of them. Oh, poor Moukanos. Thought he could take the inside, but Ruola was not interested in giving that one up.
Luckily for him, Johnny Hagner also was thinking the same thing with Fabian Gerber. So Fabian Gerber cannot gap his rival for P3 there. But De Jonge tries to move there on the inside. No! Moukanos hit into the wall.
I wondered about that. Just a racing incident, if you ask me, though. Trying to go 3 wide, and once again, Ruola trying to run his own race, and these cars are so marginal on fast turns. So he had to try and come to the apex. Boy, there goes Moukanos in a hurry.
Like you say, so tough luck for Fili. He probably saw one car on the inside, felt like I'll let him pass, but I can probably steer in here, and he just didn't know that it would be 3 wide there.
That's a lot of bent sheet metal. Nicolas Moukanos is unfortunately going to have to end his day early. Now, did John Malia have some contact? No, not quite.
One thing we have missed, sorry, Joe. One thing we have missed is Michael Houghton. It's P1 in the Audi category. He got by Gioco Lescala, and I'm quite to see where it happened. Last time around in turn 1, he had a great run going over the start-finish straight. Made the move, was actually in front of his rival under braking, and that's actually one of the things that was hard to do to make a pass. He's now P1.
He went to the inside yet again, and this time you can see he denied the apex to the Finn. And that made the difference. Already got an 8/10 gap back to Lescala.
I wanted to say that, like, Michael was probably stuck behind his rival the whole race, and this was finally the move. And he really has the speed. You can see, like, as you say, 1 second already between the two drivers. It will be, I don't think Gioco will be able to challenge for P1 again.
That's a big relief for Michael, who really had to spend a lot of time to try and take it away. Up ahead of them, De Jong and Clayton McLeod in a fight. Now, De Jong wasn't there before. Did he have another mistake?
I haven't seen it. He did a 120 last time around. I think he might have.
Yeah, that would have been 4 seconds lost. Because a 116 is a pole lap. Huh, so.
Might that be the damage on his rear, though? Might that actually be such a difference that he's not able to drive those quicker lap times that he was able to do before?
Could be. Actually, you know what? I think you're right. I'm going back and watching. Down the straight, he is just so crippled that he's losing time hand over fist. Wow. I thought he would have a hard time, but not that hard. That is a huge chunk of time.
Luckily for him, he's around 7 seconds in front of P5 Lewis Emerton, so I don't think with 5 minutes on the clock left, he'll fall back a lot. But yeah, heartbreak for Michael de Jonge. However, he's able to stay with Clayton in the draft. He's going to try a move here on the start-finish straight, Joe.
I'm not sure if he can get a move. This might just be, I got to stay in the tire tracks and get what speed I can out of this Nissan ahead of me. He's going to take a look. How is he on the brakes? Not quite close enough.
It's just he's hanging in that toe, and even though he's hanging in that gearbox, he's not getting any closer. And of course, you have to move out, and it's like he's getting wind against him immediately. He's been falling behind once he moves out of the toe.
If I know anything about Michelle, I think we're going to see a little bit of frustration expressed on the forums after this race. This was a potential win snatched away from that Jägermeister Nissan.
Another driver that probably will be frustrated is Nicolas Moukanos. He has pitted his car and he's retired from the race as well, falling down the order now.
Had a number of retirements, really. Moukanos, Hyland, Stouffer, Kopak, and of course the big name Stradbeck is gone as well. Stradbeck retiring very early in this race from his damage. There we see our leader in the zigzag machine. Looking at potentially 3 laps left. These drivers have jokingly said that Bob Marley has bought the team, hence the paint scheme and the sponsor.
Surely colors up the field a little bit.
He slides his way past yet more traffic, and look at the gap you can see on screen. 13.5 seconds. I don't think we've ever seen this dominant of a performance from Jamie Hall. Like we said, helped a little bit by a few drivers that didn't show up, but you know, you got to grab the opportunity when it's there, and I have to give credit to the UKNI driver. He has just been phenomenal out there today.
Yeah, he has been superb, but don't forget that he was second in qualifying and less than a tenth behind Michael de Jonge. So he has shown pace the whole race so far, the whole race session. So I think that Jamie, even if other people wouldn't have had that misfortune, their mistakes, whatever, he would have been up there to fight for the victory. Really impressive performance from him today.
Yoko Lascala is trying to give chase on Houghton. He was interrupted by John Keefe working his way through. That splits them up by about 7 tenths. Before that, it was down to, I think, at least 3 tenths. See if the draft reels him in once more. They're going to come back to the oval here in a second. Understand that behind these guys, Ruola and Amalia also relatively close. And I think we're safe to jump back to that because the Scala very far behind. There we see the battle on screen now. Oh, and there's a Nissan trying to squeeze around the outside. Tommy Toe causing a bit more headache for John Malia. Is that going to cost him an opportunity?
I think
he's within the slipstream.
Yeah, but not close enough to try and move there. Well, Filirola is getting a little look on the inside of Tommy Toe there. I think that cost John an opportunity to try it there. I think he has 2 more opportunities after this. Yeah, that hurts if you only have 3 more opportunities down there in turn 1, Joe, and you lose one like that.
I feel like some of these Nissan drivers maybe need to do a lap or 2 in the Audi to understand what they have to go through in those final quarters, because it certainly seems like they have to lift big time if they can't use all of the track. Look at him stay right behind Vili Ruola. This is for 4th that these two are fighting. Oh, and a slowdown penalty for Ruola.
Ah, that hurts.
Tries to come back at him as they hit the S's. The apex is going to go to Malia, though. I think he's got it done for now, but much to his frustration, he's going to give the draft back to his rival.
Just quickly talking about slowdown penalties, Michel de Jong, who was also in P4, but then in the Nissan category, had a slowdown penalty last lap around, so he's out of the draft of Clayton McLeod, falling back a little bit towards Lewis Hamilton, but still is 4 seconds ahead of the UKNI driver.
There is our leader on the backstretch. White flag next time around for the Zigzag Nissan.
Ruola is in the draft, though, of John Malia, going over the start-finish straight. Not close enough to try and move there.
He's going to get 1 more try, I think.
But in these cars, it's so difficult to try and move on the back straight.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like it's quite long enough unless the driver ahead makes a mistake. White flag is out across the yard of bricks for Jamie Hall. It's been a while since we've seen him take a win in the Kamel GT series. He's not been without them. He's got them before, but I'm sure he'll be happy to see another one on the broadcast race. Haven't given him a whole lot of screen time. He got a little bit of action at the start, but he was fighting with de Jong. De Jong fell back. Now Jamie Hall has never looked in the mirrors since. He's got a little bit of traffic in the form of Franco Scurry. And then after that, I don't think he's going to be able to catch anybody. It is clear road ahead for Jamie Hall. Looks to the inside. Easy pass as Scurry saw him coming. Lets him have the apex. Through the S's one final time. Being careful on that throttle, making sure not to spin the car. And now he can put the power down. No lifting from here to the end of the race for Jamie Hall. Through the final corner, around the famous banking, Jamie Hall takes the win here in round 3 for the iRacing Kamel GT Series.
Yeah, behind him, Fabian Gerber is around 1.5 seconds in front of Clayton McLeod. Closer, but not close enough for Clayton McLeod to try a move for P2. Fabian Gerber, after battling hard, gains 2 positions to finish P2 here at Indianapolis.
Watching this fight for first, because this is not over. This is Tommy Toe. Yes, it is. Tommy's going to move to the inside. Oh, no, Tommy. Now's not the time.
Tommy Toe,
battle for the lead.
Tommy Toe has been in this battle like for the last 2-3 laps. Oh, Tommy Toe gets hit there by Yuoko. Now, Joni Hagner is not that far behind, but with no more braking zones to go, I think Yuoko has P2 though.
Well, this is going to keep Houghton safe all the way to the end. I don't think it was just that incident that gave him the win, because, boy, he had to fight hard. And Michael Houghton wins in the GTO class here in round 3 at Indianapolis.
Behind him, Ben Laughter and Andy Trupiano are making a move in the, going onto the oval. Andy Trupiano had a great exit out of the last corner, was cut off a little bit, was blocked a little bit by Ben Laughter. He had to lift a little bit, and I don't think... Oh, he's really giving it all, hitting the wall there. Oh, that's really trying everything, Andy Trupiano there. Just a shame, he had such a great exit there.
I don't think Andy was lifting for anybody coming off that corner. Let's watch the replay here. This is... We're taking a look at the incident here between Tommy Toe and Hugo Lascala. This is on board Hugo. And Tommy just cut a little bit too far inside this corner, slowed down. Oof. Poor Lascala just, unfortunately, was not expecting a slow Nissan.
Unfortunately, both drivers didn't lose any positions, but yeah, that's a shame for Yuoko there, who wanted one more try on that run towards the start-finish line to get past Michael.
With that, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Don't go away, because you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the screen. And after that, we've got the official results as well as driver interviews. Welcome back to Indianapolis Motor Speedway as we look down the front stretch at the famous scoring pylon. Up at the top of that, you will see J.D. Hall at P1, taking a win today, leading most of the race, and then scampering away once he was able to get out front. Fabian Gerber, what a fight he had. Started in 4th, he finished in 2nd, had to fend off all comers. It wasn't easy. Clayton McLeod, we really didn't watch him much, but he started in 9th, and he finished on the podium. Somehow, despite his damage, despite multiple incidents sending him backwards, Michel de Jong still got a 4th. I don't think he's going to be happy with that, though, with him starting on pole. Luis Emerton takes a 5th, and then Rob Olenek, disappointment having started up front. A spin in the first lap, causing him damage and making him have to work his way back through the field. The best he could do was 6. John Keefe finished in at 7th, behind him Fabian Jungluth in 8th, Martin Krejcik in 9th, and Tommy Toe, the last of our finishing Nissan class here today.
And P11, a nice clean even cut there to the Audis. Michael Houghton finishes in P1 after battling heavily with Gioco Lescala. Joni Hagner finishes in 13th in front of John Melia. Filiruola has to settle for 15th in front of Philip Blake, who was driving near the front at the beginning of the race before that slowdown penalty. Ben Laughter comes home 7th in the Audi category, 17th overall in front of Andy Trupiano, who had a stellar recovering drive from 28th to 18th, making up several positions after being the only driver not to set a qualifying time in front of Franco Scuri and Riley Thompson. Hideki Kofiso finishes 21 in front of Ray Miller and Brian Shanahan. Nicolas Mucanos was one of the drivers that retired during the race, and he finishes classified as 24th. Adam Hyland comes home in 25th in front of Chris Stover, Mike Kopek and Brian Strotbeck.
That's going to complete our results, completing the top of the podium. And the GTO class, though, is Michael Houghton. We're going to bring him in and talk to him about that race because, boy, it was uncertain all the way down to the end. Michael, it seemed like you guys had a nice 4-way fight up at the top of the field in this GTO class, and then things started to thin out, and boy, all hell broke loose.
Yeah, man, that I knew this was going to be a crazy race. Joko and I just, oh my God, I'm still shaking right now. It's one of the best races I've had.
Now, do you think you had a slightly different setup than him, or is just the draft that kind of kept you guys close together out on track?
I think despite setups, I was using Ben's. I think our pace was about the same. So once we started pulling away from the rest of the pack, we just stuck together like white on rice. Even though the Nissan started coming through, it actually helped us get away from the second pack behind us there.
We saw a lot of trouble going both onto the oval and then, of course, taking the final turn on the oval between the two classes. What's it like from the Audi perspective trying to take it through there and a Nissan takes away your line?
We lose a lot of the downforce, whatever downforce this car has left. And you kind of have to get off the gas and let the car drift through the corner because if you keep going on the gas, it's going to understeer right into the wall. And whenever I saw Nissan GTPs coming behind me onto the oval, I just thought, oh, man, this is going to suck. I'm going to lose time. But then I saw that Joko had to back off and he'd lose time as well. So it was even among both of us.
It's traffic giveth and traffic taketh, as
That's
it goes in multi-class racing. Now, you're going to have another track with a long straight next week at Road Atlanta, but a lot of twisty bits. Does this Audi play nice at Road Atlanta?
I think it should. I mean, didn't they race there in real life?
I'd have to check. It was a different layout, though. I know they didn't have the final chicane at that point.
Okay. But yeah, I think they should. I honestly thought that the car wouldn't be able to race on this track as good as it did, and I'm pretty surprised.
All right. Well, you took the win. Can't be too disappointed with that. Congratulations.
Woo! Thank you, guys. I hope you feel better, Joe.
Thanks, bud. That's Michael Houghton, who seems very happy about that win. Up next, we have a driver who might not be as happy. We'll see if Johan has to tread a little bit lightly with his fellow Dutchman, Michel de Jong.
Michelle, I want to say congratulations with P4 because after contact with that Audi, your car seems heavily damaged. Tell us a little bit about that contact and afterwards. Your right rear seemed to have a little knock. Did that cost you a lot of top speed on the straight? Not hearing Michelle at the moment.
Michelle, do you have a copy? Looks like he might be dealing with some mic issues for now. So we'll slot him over and talk to him a little bit later. I believe we also have, let's see who we do next. John Keefe over in the Nissans. Also a driver, maybe with a little bit of disappointment. This time we'll let Johan talk to John.
Hey, John, do you got a copy?
Yep, I'm here.
Awesome. Hey, John, you had a great race so far, or at the beginning, you were battling in P2. Tell us a little bit how it was out there. How did you feel in Indianapolis today?
I probably put more time and effort into this week than I've put into any other. And it looks like it paid off with pace. But yeah, I just threw it off by myself. I think Nick was coming up behind me. I think he was going to make a move, and I just kind of went in too hot and pitched it off, and that was that.
That's a shame. Well, you had a recovery drive. You finished P7 in the end. Is that something you're happy with here?
I am. All things considered, definitely. I actually thought I was going to catch Rob there for a while. It looked like he had some damage, and I was really running him down on the straightaways, but he may have had a little more downforce than I put on the card for today. So he held it through the infield. But 7th, I'll take it.
You're mentioning the downforce, the different setups. There was something that we were wondering with. Was there a lot of difference, do you know, between the different setups of the Nissans here today? Because it seemed like some drivers really had a lot of difficulty making that move in turn 1.
Yeah, from what I saw in practice throughout the week, I think there were guys that were running a little more downforce, and that was a huge advantage in the infield section. I chose very, very little downforce and just focused on mechanical grip. And I think I was topping out around 182 down the main straight. So,
okay.
Yeah, it was a compromise though. So I'm not sure which way was the best way for this week.
Well, it brought you a lot of speed, at least raw speed in the end. Next week, we're going to Road Atlanta. How do you think the Nissan will be there?
Oh, it's great. We've been there a few times, and I believe that is our 60-minute race next week. So that's going to be a blast. The curbs, they're very dangerous with the Nissan. So you just have to avoid those. And outside of that, it's a great track for the series.
Awesome. Well, thank you for talking with us, John, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. Thanks. Thank you, you guys.
It was John Keefe coming home in P7. Joe, I heard that you caught up with someone else in the meantime.
Yeah, Philip Blake, who I believe was 6th place over in the GTO class. He was in amidst one of that mid-pack battles that we saw over in the Audis. And Phil, we saw a great battle up at the front, then we saw a great battle in the middle. The Audis just seemed not able to get away from one another on this track.
No, I noticed that all week in practice. The times were incredibly close all the way down. So the top 10 Audis. I was just a little bit disappointed today. I caught a slowdown in turn 1, and that really messed my race up.
Now, we understand that the Kamel series is kind of cycling through as many of the iRacing tracks as they can to kind of figure out what are the most popular, the most likely to help attendance. How did you feel about Indianapolis today, with this being the first time you guys have come here?
I think I'm with everybody else. I'm not super fond of the track. I think the racing's been better than I expected. It's quite difficult. The multi-class aspect is quite difficult. I think the Nissans, there's a good few places that they can get stuck behind Audis. But I mean, overall, the racing's been good, but I'm in no rush to come back unless we try the motor layout.
Now, you're 5th right now in the championship. What's your overall goal for the season as far as finishing in the points, or are you just not worried about that at all?
I'd like to stay in the top 5. I think the strength of the Audi field so far this season has been really strong, so I don't know if I'll be able to, but that's my goal.
All right. Well, best of luck on that. I hope to see you at Road Atlanta next week.
Yep, I'll be there. See you guys.
That was Philip Lake for the GTO class, finishing 6th today. With that, we're going to close up. Of course, a big thank you to the Kamel GT community for coming back for another season here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Johan, Amjad, and Ducky. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, on Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget, of course, there's always that subscribe button. If you want to see all the upcoming races here on GSRC, go over to our YouTube page, hit that button, and join the ranks of people who follow us. Next race, as we mentioned, going down to Georgia. That'll be at Road Atlanta, Saturday, April 7th at 12 p.m. Eastern. 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.